Hello. Would you like to eliminate disappointment from your life entirely? Well, I have a method for you, and here it is. So let's get right into it. Disappointment is always a result of unmet expectations. So if you follow these steps each time you experience disappointment, you will eventually reduce or completely eliminate painful disappointment from your life entirely. Yeah, I know that's a big claim to make. However, I've been using this method for many years, and although I do experience disappointment occasionally in my life because disappointment is a normal human emotion, I do not suffer for long periods of time over disappointment. It's just not something that I do anymore, and so I wanted to share this. Okay, step one. Since we've established that disappointment is always a result of an unmet expectation, the first step is to identify your expectation. You can take some time to sit with this, kind of go within, get out your pencil and paper, and identify exactly what the unmet expectation is. Get clear about it. It might help to journal about it, to write about it. And for some people, it helps to talk about it with a trusted friend. Be very honest with yourself and very specific. What was your expectation that has led to the disappointment? So just close your eyes for a moment and hear me say that it is counterproductive and a waste of energy to suffer from disappointment over an unmet expectation that you can't even identify in detail. Okay, moving on to step two. Determine if the expectation is realistic or unrealistic. This can be a little tricky. It does require objectivity, and it'll help to speak with a trusted friend or family member about this, not someone who is just going to tell you what you want to hear. If it seems that the expectation is realistic, then that's great. We're going to move on to the next step. However, if the expectation is unrealistic to begin with, it's better to lower it to something that is more realistic or just let go of the expectation. So just close your eyes for a moment and hear me say, it is counterproductive and a waste of energy to suffer from disappointment over an unmet expectation that is unrealistic in the first place. All right, so now on to step three. Clearly verbalize your expectation. So, if your expectation is dependent upon another person, the thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, decisions, or actions of another person or people, then you must ask yourself, did I clearly verbalize my expectation to the person or the people involved? So, step three does require for you to do that. You must verbalize your expectation clearly and directly and ask the person or people if they are willing and if they are able to meet the expectation. You've already been specific about what your expectation is, and so when you verbalize it, you must also be specific. So just close your eyes for a moment and hear me say, it is counterproductive and a waste of energy to suffer from disappointment over an unmet expectation for something you haven't even verbalized and asked for. Okay. Now, is this person or these people able to meet the expectation? You've determined it's realistic by now. You've clearly verbalized your expectation to them. And if it's still not being met, then you must ask yourself, are they able to meet my expectation? If not, you can wait and see if they will become able, or you can lower your expectation to something that they are able to satisfy. You could do it yourself or to find someone else who is able. So close your eyes for a moment and hear me say, it is counterproductive and a waste of energy to suffer from disappointment over an unmet expectation from someone that is unable to meet your expectation in the first place. All right, so now if we've come this far, we must ask ourselves if my expectation is still not being met. I've been very clear about it. I've verbalized it. I've asked them to meet it. It's been determined that they are able to meet it. However, if the expectation is still not being met, you can pretty much assume that they are not willing to meet the expectation. You can still wait and see if they might change their mind, or you can lower your expectation, or you can just let go of it completely. So close your eyes a moment and hear me say, it is counterproductive and a waste of energy to suffer from disappointment over an unmet expectation from someone that is unwilling to meet your expectation in the first place. Finally, the last segment is, if the person or people you are depending on to fulfill your expectation is unwilling or unable to fulfill it, you could also plan to fulfill it yourself using resources available. Create a plan. Handle it yourself. I mean, why not, right? So I'm going to put a link for a PDF at the bottom of this video, which can walk you through the whole entire process. And I'll just walk through it real quick. You want to be aware of your expectation first. Are you aware or not? So if so, you move to this next one. And if not, then you must clearly define your expectation. Now, the next step, as we talked about, is determining whether the expectation is realistic or unrealistic. If you have determined through talking it out with friends and trusted mentors that it does seem to be realistic, then that's fine. You can move on down here. But if it's unrealistic to begin with, then you can lower it, you can let go of it completely, or you can choose to wait and see. We have to be careful about hanging out in the wait and see section too much. Hanging out in here can definitely prolong the suffering that has been arising over the disappointment. All right, so now let's say you have decided to wait and see. Have you clearly verbalized the expectation? Have you taken advantage of all the resources? So if not, then you must clearly verbalize it and or create a plan utilizing resources. And then we basically come down to they're either able or unable to. If they're unable to, you might as well let it go, lower it to something they're able to meet, or you can still wait and see. But I do caution you about hanging out in the wait and see area for too long. So if they are able, if we've determined that this is a realistic expectation, I have verbalized it clearly, they are able to meet it, but yet they are still not meeting it, we can assume that they are unwilling to meet this expectation. And at that point, you can let go of that expectation completely. You can try to lower it to something that they are willing to meet, or again, you can wait and see. So that is the whole thing in a nutshell. I hope that helped. As I said, I have been using this for many, many years, and it works. So please give me feedback and appreciate your listening. Bye.